Hi everyone, good evening on this beautiful Saturday. I know it is summers, and yes, we are going to have great time talking to the Damyanti Biswas, who is our author for the day. And thank you everyone for joining us. We are going to talk to her about her crime thriller Blue Bar, and very excited to be having a conversation with her. So just give me some time. I will just add my fellow colleagues to this live. Hi everyone. Um, hi, how are you? Hey,
Hi.
hi. Hi, Damyanti. How are you?
Hi, Ekta. How are you all? Thanks for having
We
me.
are all good and so glad to see you.
No,
So
thanks
9
for
p.m.
making the
Singapore
time.
time.
Yes, you can see the lights outside. This is my
Yes, so I
reading nook
have with
where I
me
sit
me.
and read.
Yeah. This is such a lovely place to, always kind of sit and read. Looks absolutely fantastic. So Damyanti, we are Read a Kitab, and we're so happy to have you today. I have with me Neeraj,
Hi, Damyanti.
Hi,
How are
hi,
you?
hi, Dheeraj. Lovely to meet you.
and I also have with me Abhishek.
Hi, Damyanti.
Hi,
How are you doing?
Abhishek. Lovely to meet you, Abhishek. Thanks
Same,
for
same
having me,
here.
guys.
So all those who have joined us and are joining us, let me just give you a backdrop on this, that we are going to talk about this amazing crime thriller that we read, just now, the Blue Bar. Everything's blue, and Abhishek is
Blue.
wearing blue. So so yeah, that goes with the theme. So we are so excited and glad to have Damyanti Biswas, who's the author of the book, and also she's written a lot other, so much more. She's also been kind of, she's shortlisted for the best small fictions and Bath Novel Awards, and she's also a co-editor of the Forge Literary Magazine. So I'm sure we're going to have a great time with her today. So Damyanti, just to break the ice, we saw that when we were reading about you, we got to know that you've talked about that you wish to live in a house which has more books than any other item. So since we are a reading community, this so much resonated with all of us, and I thought that why not start off with this.
Oh, absolutely. I'm working towards that dream. My house right now, if you could see, this is not even my study, and there's books everywhere. So yeah, shelves and
So
piles of books.
amazing. So Damyanti, I know that you've been reading a lot of crime fiction. You love crime fiction, and so we thought that we'll ask you that how come you wrote this one as such a thriller, a crime fiction book, and it was so amazing to read this book because it has a lot of elements which a person kind of looks into a crime fiction thriller. And is there any background, or you were fascinated by all the books that you read, and you thought this is my genre and this is what I have to write it, because then you have put your heart into it and you've written such a wonderful book.
Uh, well, just a quick hello to everybody who's joining in now. Thank you guys so much for joining. To answer your question, it was entirely by accident. I thought my first novel, You Beneath Your Skin, was a literary novel. My
Yes.
mentor told me you have a police commissioner, you have dead bodies, you have multiple dead bodies, you have somebody investigating those dead bodies. So what do you think you're writing? And I said, a literary novel. And she said, no. But of course, I was such a snob. I was very disappointed with myself. And, genre, how am I writing a genre novel when I'm always reading literary novels? But yeah, that's how it began with You Beneath Your Skin. And with the Blue Bar, I intentionally set out to write a crime novel because by that time I had already read In Cold Blood by Truman Capote, which kind of,
Yes.
that kind of very beautiful literary crime writing. And I've been reading Tana French and some of these kind of Ivy, Pocoda, these kind of authors who kind of write more about the periphery of crime, and it's more of a why done it than a who done it. And so by the time I was writing the Blue Bar, I kind of wanted to write a very Indian story, absolutely rooted in a city. I don't know whether I was able to do it, but for a Western audience, because of course my agent is an American agent, and the publishers I wanted at that time that she could submit to were American publishers. So that's how it kind of began. I kind of got into the genre. Yeah.
And it has so many layers. It talk about a lot of things. There are so many characters that you come up and you have come up with in the book, and they have their own struggles, they have their own lives, and how they kind of intermingle. So we were kind of actually quite fascinated when we were reading this, because we were also wondering that writing a crime thriller would absolutely require lot of clues, and so it's kind of a puzzle that you want to first unpuzzle, or kind of spread it out, and then you start putting all the things together.
Uh, so yeah, I did that a whole lot because I did a lot of research in Mumbai. I have lived in Mumbai and I did a ton of research in Mumbai. I actually walked into police stations, not just like that, but through contacts, you know, and got to speak to sub-inspectors, inspectors of police, and got my plot actually vetted. I got to again, through connections, I took a course that constables take for forensics. So this is how, if somebody hangs themselves, this is what happened, blah, 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 all of that. I kind of did all that kind of research. So I walked the roads in Dharavi, and I was walking all kinds of places, eating street food, and I think all of that went into the novel. And I think India is not a country of singularity. We are a country of multitudes, and thank God for that, because that is our strength. That is why for centuries, we have prevailed. And
Yes.
I think that's what I wanted to write about. I did not want to go inside the room and write about one person or go inside that person's mind. I wanted to write about India's mind, and it's kind of ambitious because it's been done and done so very well before by so many other authors. But
Yeah.
I wanted to give it a shot. Yeah.
Amazing.
And I had this question because when we grew, so at least I grew up watching all of these, serial killers, and you did mention Truman Capote. In my mind, I don't know, as a reader, I have always associated serial killing with the fabric of the society, where it is advanced society, prosperous society. And it's only then in these societies that such crimes can take place. And I was very happy that you said it in Mumbai. Not that we are looking for any validation, but I was very, very happy that, okay, so without giving too much away, I guess my question is, you do navigate, so how do you navigate between, the storytelling aspect and also shedding some light on the social injustices, because it's literally impossible not to talk on the social fabric.
So to talk about serial killers happen in all societies, whether they are tribal, they happened 200 years ago, and I believe 1,000 years ago, because the killing and the need to kill and what happens, that all of that, a lot of it happens inside the mind, especially in the mind of a serial killer, because other murders are different, serial killings are different, which is why people, it is defined as, it has to be 3 killings of the same by the same person within a certain amount of time. So you're not a serial killer if there's 10 years between your killings, for example. So there has to be a certain time period. So serial killers, of course, are a different breed. To answer your question about the pacing, really, which is demanded of a crime thriller, and the fact that you have societal commentary that's going on, it is a tricky balance, because of course in the beginning, I tended to be extremely, let's do social commentary and let's do whatever. So I kind of wrote the draft like 115, 120,000. And then I was kind of figuring out, throw it away, then write, throw it away, and then write. So it took me 4 or 5 drafts to get to, what happens in front of the camera and what happens behind the scenes, right? Like a lot of things are happening behind the scenes as things are happening in front of the scene. So once I got that, I knew that it's very complex. My world is very complex, and if you have to keep the reader invested, they need to care about the people the events are happening to, or what are the events that they are driving, and also the setting in which this is happening. So I set about making sure that readers would either love or hate the characters, but they would not be like, I don't care. Yeah, so what, they die. So each death had to make sense, and make people feel bad, like without spoiling anything. Of course, it's a crime novel. There will be deaths and there will be investigations, but it's not just the fact of somebody dying, it's what do you feel about that person dying. And that's what keeps my interest when I'm reading. So I kind of thought, that's going to work for my readers. So that's what I did to maintain pacing.
I have to tell you that you have brought out Bombay very well in your writing. So if you're wondering whether you did justice or not, you did complete justice. It actually felt like a true blue Bombay. It was walking the roads. So, but I had a question. Was there any personal experiences or real life incidents that shaped the story or some of the characters? Because they seem so real, all of them.
Uh, Not really. None of the characters are based exactly on people I know, but I tend to do this. I tend to take, the physical characteristics of somebody and match it with the mental, acuities of somebody else. I would change gender. I would change age. I would take pieces from myself. So sometimes, for example, the villain possibly would have one or two of my characteristics so that, I do not lack in empathy with the villain. And then the hero would have, the characteristics of somebody I may not really like in real life so that he or she doesn't become this, Sati Savitri, everything, Maryada Purushottam Ram should not happen. So, yeah, so that's how I go about it, really. None of the characters are me, but then all the characters are me. I'm the one wearing the mask, right?
Wow. That is such a brilliant take on it.
Yeah, and you have already spoken about the authors that have influenced, or maybe you have read. Could you dwell a little more on that as well? Because that was my next question.
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry, the screen keeps freezing.
All right. Okay. No, you have already touched upon the fact that you were influenced by like a few writers. But any writer in particular that comes to your mind, or any particular writer that you had in mind when you were actually writing this?
I After I had written it, I read These Women by Ivy Pokoda, and she writes about Los Angeles. And if you've read These Women, it's a fascinating novel about the murder of women being investigated by a woman. But the murder is not what's important. The important part is she's focusing on the victims because they are the people who are never focused on. So that sort of a thing really kind of that impressed me a whole lot. So when I was doing the next draft, it was there in my head. I liked a few books by Harlan Coben, and what I like is it begins with something really small.
Right.
So a
Yeah.
small thing, a small secret, a small incident. So this is also like, a small thing that happens on a train station, which not many people notice, and she's running away in 3 minutes. So that's sort of a thing, yeah. So those kind of influences. No writer writes in isolation. We kind of make this entire poetic thing about a writer sitting there, drinking either copious amounts of coffee or wine or, other things which we won't mention. And, suddenly something happens and they begin writing and it all comes out. But really, reality is quite far from that. And I think we get inspired by all the people that have come before us. Like all the best writing teachers I have are dead. They are dead writers, really. So, yeah.
I was wondering why this Blue Mumbai thriller, like for the uninitiated. what would you tell them? What's Blue Mumbai thriller?
Well, it has a very poetic and a very prosaic reason. The poetic reason, of course, is when I first went to Mumbai many, many years ago. When you land, you see the blue tarpaulin
The
that
blue
you, when you're
tarpaulins,
landing,
yeah.
it's all these blue, 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 and then it hits you what that blue is. Those are the slums surrounding, the airport. And then when you go to the seaside and it rains, it's like the air kind of turns blue. You go to these bars and it's like a smoky blue. So blue was very much part of my psyche whenever I thought of Mumbai, and I thought of Mumbai a whole lot when I was writing that. And I think Tara appeared, and I'm spoiling nothing because she appears on the first page in a blue
Yes,
sequin sari. So then
yes.
it became the Blue Bar, the novel. Also because Blue Bar was a bar in Delhi, still is a bar in Delhi, which I could never, afford in my misbegotten youth. So then I named it the Blue Bar. I'm like, I couldn't go there, but here's the bar that I have created. So all of that became blue. And then the really prosaic part of it is that the series was named Blue Mumbai because my publisher said, well, we cannot say Arnav Singh Rajput series, because the series has to
Yeah,
be named something. And
yes.
Americans are not, unlike Indians, Americans are not very used to reading literature from different countries, right? So they said, give me something like, give us something which is very simple. And I was like, it has to do with blue. And they were like, yeah, we agree, the blue bar. And at the time I was writing the sequel and they were like, will this be blue as well? So I said, yeah, there will be like rains in it. So we thought blue
The
rain.
blue
And
moons,
so, yeah,
yeah.
and then it from there it came, okay, so I said, how about Blue Mumbai? And, that's why it became Blue Mumbai.
Oh, wonderful,
So, yeah.
wonderful.
Wonderful.
Amazing.
And I
And
just want to take a quick second to just say hi. I can see hi, Damyanti, but I'm very blind. I cannot see who.
So
So,
Sharon Bishop is saying hi, Damyanti,
oh, hi,
and
Sharon, and thank you so much for joining, everybody. I'm sorry I'm blind. I forgot my glasses. They're around here somewhere. I can't see. Sorry, guys. Please go on.
yeah, I can empathize with you because the confidence with which I ask questions to authors is also because I'm blind almost, so I really can't see. Uh,
Yeah, no,
uh,
I
uh,
should be wearing my glasses. I just don't know where they are. Senior
uh,
problems.
Wonderful. Basically, while reading the whether it's a murder mystery or a thriller, especially like the Blue Bar, it's a labyrinth that you have created. So many things are happening. There are so many characters, and then so there's suddenly some chapters where it feels as if the information has been withheld. So was that like a conscious decision on your part because the characters are either from Arnav's perspective or they are from Tara's perspective, and suddenly there is some anonymity creeping in because I cannot give away too much because people should pick it up and read it because it's so exciting. I guess as a reader, my question was this: like, was withholding the information in order to create that labyrinth was a conscious decision on your part?
Uh, yes, I'll just say a quick hi to Kalpana, I think.
yes,
Yes, so Kalpana is a wonderful writer. Thank you, Kalpana. And I think that's Inderpreet. Is that Indie Writes? Please help me, guys.
yes,
Yeah.
Yes, indie
yes.
rights. Yes.
Yeah, hi, Inderpreet. Thank you so much for joining. And I'm so sorry, guys, if I'm missing you because I cannot see. My glasses not there. So sorry. To go back to your question about why withhold and why have that point of view, it was because of, I think we can go back to what you said in the beginning, the fascination with serial killers. So the mind of a serial killer is a strange beast. So we don't know what's going on. And part of the reason that we get so fascinated by serial killers is that, killing one person is already like quite a difficult task. Like, even cutting yourself is hard. And I'll not spoil anything, but I'll say it begins, the serial killer's point of view begins with he's cutting, right? That's where it begins. So I kind of wanted to have that almost very an exploration of what's going on within the mind of this demented person, and then build a suspense in the sense that you keep guessing, is it this person? Because obviously we've all read enough to know that it has to be somebody amongst these people,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Yeah.
not like somebody coming out
Mm.
of the blue. So you keep suspecting, is it this guy? Is it this guy? Is it
Mm.
this guy? And I kind of wanted to keep that. And also kind of writing in that point of view uh, allowed me to be a little literary, so I could be a bit poetic about everything. So my editor said, yeah, you could do that. You can do this. It breaks it up nicely because between two points of view, because when you have reveals, you have subtext. So certain things, certain characters know. Sometimes the author knows and nobody else knows. Sometimes the reader knows and the character doesn't know. And that's
Yeah.
the biggest suspense, right? When the readers begin to know, and when in the end a character walks into a dark room and the reader knows what's awaiting them. So that's suspense, right? So yeah.
Absolutely. And while we were reading this, this constantly came to us, and we were also talking about it. And but thank you, thank you for talking out this, Damyanti. For those who have joined us right now, and those who are joining us, we are talking to Damyanti Biswas, and for her book, The Blue Bar. And this is a crime thriller. You've got to read this. And
Okay, I'll
we
pick
are,
it up as well.
yes. So yeah, and we are having such an interesting conversation. So if you guys have any questions, please drop a line on the chat box, and we will pick up those questions. So coming back to the conversation, Damayanti, I was just when we were reading, like I said in the beginning, all the characters have their own different shades, and there are so many layers that you see, in those characters. So I was just thinking that how they kind of face those moral dilemmas that you have created, and they are certainly inclined towards societal pressure, and very ambiguous situations kind of keep of happening with them. So what was your take on when you were kind of writing these characters, and how did you kind of define their roles, and how do you think how much do you think it is important as a novelist to bring out those aspects as well?
So all of this happens in retrospect, right? When you
Yeah.
begin, it's like I don't remember who, but I'm very bad with quoting people, but it's like writing a novel is like, you are in the car and you have in the dark, you're driving, and you can only see as far as the headlights go. So that's what writing a novel is like. So you don't know, and you don't have all these, various important takes on various important matters. You're just going really crazy trying to figure out who is this person that won't let go and keeps coming back to your consciousness, and you have to write about them. And who's Tara? I mean, in the beginning I just had Tara, right? She just comes into a station wearing this sari, and she has to leave in 3 minutes. So I had no clue why she was there. I had no clue who she was. I had no clue why she was there. It was just written as a scene in response to a prompt at a writing workshop, where the prompt was write about somebody who is being watched, but they don't know they are being watched.
Oh,
So and
wow.
that scene, almost in its entirety, just came to me like a gift, like your subconscious sometimes gives you these dubious gifts which you don't know
Uh,
what to do with later, right? And I happened to send it to my then agent, and he said, well, why don't you write a novel, figure out who it is? And so it just became What Ifs, right? So this is just to say that we don't, I mean, at least I don't know in the beginning what it is that I'm going to write about. And when it comes to, I figure out one character, and I figure out what is it that that character wants, and what is it that stands in the way of the character getting it. Because each of us in life, we want something every moment, right? The moment we don't want anything anymore, we are either in the Himalayas and achieve nirvana, or we are dead. Otherwise, we want something, right? We want to breathe at the very least. So I always have that in mind, that people want things. And when you want something, there is no black or white. You are gray. All of us are gray. I think also that even the whitest of us have some shades of gray in us, and even the blackest of us has some redeeming qualities. And that is what it is to be called human. So if you're writing about humans and humanity and human lives, you naturally will have conflicts regarding morality, right? Because what is fiction? We are forever trying to live other lives to see. We are trying on, other lives, like people try on clothes to see what would it be like to be inside those clothes and how would it feel. So you are kind of checking out what's moral, what's not moral, because morality is not an absolute concept. No matter what people tell you, it is a relative
Yeah.
concept. So who decides what's moral? Why is it moral for, let's say, a 7-year-old boy to starve and not take a bread without paying? And who decides what's moral for whom? As a society, what does it say
Right.
about us if when we are saying technically, morally, that boy is a thief? But then at
Yeah.
the end of the day, who is it that is black in this situation? It's
Mm,
definitely not
mm,
the boy. So when you think about those things, then in crime novels, then it becomes very interesting to figure out these layers of characters. And for me, even the protagonist is not white. He has shades of gray, and you see the antagonist. And I'm not saying, oh, I love the antagonist or that you should, but I'm saying we can understand this person is doing certain things. We know why they're doing it.
Yeah.
We are not supportive of them, but at least we begin to understand why they're doing it and what are the reasons why, what happened around them, right? So basically going back to what leads to the genesis of crime. So it's important to have all these nuances, is what I feel when writing a crime novel.
Very interesting, I think. And this clearly, kind of is visible when we are reading the book. So, all those who have not read the book, you can pick this one up and, read. It's a fast paced thriller. Also, there is a question from Sharon. So, Sharon is asking, is there one
Hi,
particular
Sharon.
character you enjoyed writing more than the others?
Well, I don't know if I enjoyed writing any of the characters. They were all terrible to write. But yeah, the most indulgent character. The most indulgent. No, I mean, you have to be truthful, right? I mean, you can't bluff your way through life. You
So
have to
true.
tell the truth. It was all tough. None of it was easy. But yeah, the villain I think was the most where I indulged myself a little because, there was this thing about you cannot let the person's, you don't know what age they are. You're trying to guess. You know what social station they are, but then you're thinking, are they the social station? So if you read just those snippets, which I did, then I've gone like back and forth. Like you sometimes think he's a poor guy, sometimes think,
mm.
whatever. So yeah, I enjoyed that part, definitely.
Amazing. And there is another question for you from Indie Rides. Is there another book in the series? So, yeah, this is the time to tell us.
Inderpreet. Yes, there is another book in the series, which is The Blue Monsoon, which has the same characters as The Blue Bar. And this one's already out in the US, but hopefully now it'll be in India soon, so we'll see. It still follows Arnav and Tara's journey, but the case is different. So it's still set in Mumbai and during Mumbai's monsoon season. So,
Oh,
Wow, wonderful. Actually, I was also wondering about your writing process because you have also donned the hat of being an editor, and now you have written a thriller, right? Where you are a writer, and then you must have been having some interesting conversations with your editor as well. So could you share like how different or how similar these experiences are?
well, I do not really edit novels I do not get paid professionally by a publishing house to edit novels. I, of course, do edit short stories, and those are very different. But in the sense that for me, I am able to empathize with my editor a whole lot because sometimes she's trying very hard to be, very soft about saying something. And I'm like, it's okay, writers come in various shades. So some are delicate wash only. So then you have to be very whatever. And then there's denim wash. And over the years, I'm denim wash. So just give it to me straight. Whatever it is, it's not working. I'll just take it. I'll run with it. Like I know like 10 years ago, it would take me like a few days to kind of think of the feedback and then stop crying and eating ice cream and actually go and open the thing. But now I've kind of reduced that time frame, so I read it and then I'm like, oh damn. So then I go and watch some K drama and get some hazelnut or whatever ice cream, some white wine, and sit and cry a bit and consider giving up writing altogether. But I think it's important for me to indulge myself for that one day. But after that day, I'm like, I've indulged myself, right? I've even put on a few kilos. So now is the time to get back and look at the feedback. So then you go and then you read and then you read. So you kind of begin to appreciate your editor, because when you're writing the story, you know everything, but you don't want to reveal everything to the reader immediately, right?
Yeah.
So you don't know what is apparent, what is confusing, and so you do need an editor. Like any author who says that they don't need editors, I'm sorry, but I disagree. We all need editors because we can't see it. The
Yeah.
viewpoint that we have, we cannot see. We cannot be the reader at the time we are writing. So
Mm-hmm.
you cannot be the creator and the consumer
Yeah.
exactly at the same time. Yeah.
I have a very different question to this whole thing. So, if suppose the Blue Bar was to be made into a series, who would your dream cast be?
Well, we do have an agent. I have a Hollywood agent, so let's hope they kind of, tie up with some OTT and let's see
Oh,
if something
wow.
happens. So, but these things take time. To give you like an example, Sacred Games took 16 years between the first time it was published and by the time Netflix made it. And the option was, they optioned it and they gave it up, they optioned it. So it takes decades sometimes, so we don't know. बट ख्याली पुलाव खाने में क्या जाता है, तो घी अच्छे से डाल लेते हैं. But so I guess I would really like, let's say, if we think about the actors today who could realistically play the roles, who are not aged out or who are not too young. I think Arnav, this guy would do a good job, Ranbir, if he manages to stay very straightforward and whatever. He has the personality if he's not monkeying around. He's a fantastic actor. He's got great screen presence. So definitely. Alia, for sure, she can dance and she still looks young, so she could still play, without again spoiling the novel, she could play the protagonist, age-wise. And
Yeah.
well, Nandini would be this girl. Saif Ali Khan's daughter,
Sarah
what's
Ali
her
Khan.
name?
Sara Ali.
Sarah
Sarah
Khan.
Ali Khan. Yeah, Sarah. Yeah, she could
Yeah,
be a good
actually,
Nandini because
yeah, yeah.
very like and if I could really dream, I would like Barve to be Ajay Devgan. And
Wow.
well,
Very
yeah.
interesting choice of people.
Yeah, I mean घी अच्छे से डालना चाहिए ना, अगर ख्याली पुलाव और बिरयानी बन रहा है तो.
You might as well.
Right.
This is fascinating, and I hope we see this coming to the screen soon. So yeah, we can also kind of watch it actually.
I
And
know.
so
Yeah, Ekta, if I may, I was wondering when I first picked up and when I started reading, and you keep on talking, you did talk about compassion and empathy a lot. I found a stark difference in which where you have portrayed your female characters, and I could see that it's from a lot of compassion and empathy. I could understand their world. So do you think that, I mean, I don't know whether it's the right question to ask or not, but do you think that because you are a woman writer, I don't like that term, but I'm just asking you, is that because of why, or you generally think that your female characters were more compassionate?
Well, I write all characters as individuals, so I could have a very compassionate, man and a very not compassionate woman. If you read, for example, this one, you will know what I mean. So, the thing is, any character, whether they're compassionate or not, depends on, I think, what role they play in the story. So I think women are as capable of being villains or cruel or any of the things I think men are capable of in bad terms. So I'm not saying they can be rocket scientists. I'm also saying they can be serial killers and murderers. Is this entire, I think, putting women on a pedestal and kind of treating them like the other that creates the issues, right? So there's no point. I mean, women can be, the people who could say and do some of the most, heinous things, and that's possible. So to me, I look at characters just like characters. I don't have special treatment for men, women, and also other genders, which again you will see if you read the sequel.
Okay.
Oh.
So,
Also, Damayanti, while you were writing this, was there any character in particular that kind of surprised you, that, while you were writing, one of them?
That's a scary thing to happen. People have these romantic notions that writers often get surprised by these characters and things like that, and things kind of blow out of whatever. But I'm kind of thankful that in the Blue Bar that didn't happen because I don't like to be surprised by a character because I'm like, you do your thing. I mean, of course, they don't do exactly what I tell them to do because, with a story it changes. But if completely somebody is shocking you or completely doing something out of the blue, uh, I don't think I have reached that maturity level yet. I'd be like, huh? So no, not yet. Not in the blue bar. Maybe the one that I'm writing right now, that could be happening. It is probably happening. Yeah.
Amazing. So is that the third book in the series?
No, it's a completely different book, and it's a
Okay.
women's fiction, so it's not a crime novel. It's a
Oh.
women's fiction with crime.
Oh.
So if you've watched, let's say, Where the Crawdads Sing
mm,
or The
Yes.
Covenant of Water, it's that
wow.
Oh my,
genre.
wow.
Mm.
Amazing. So looking forward to it. And also there is another question. What would your conversation be about with any one character from the Blue Bar? Okay. I don't know what, I don't know if you were to meet them in
Uh,
real life. Okay.
is that the question that you read from there? Because you froze entirely. So
Oh,
it's,
okay.
did you?
Is it fine now? I'll reread it. So the question is, what would your conversation be about with any one character from the Blue Bar if you were to meet them in real life?
Okay, if you met somebody in real life, what would the conversation be like? One of my
Yes,
characters, is that what you're
yes,
saying?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, you were freezing there. So I don't know. I mean, in the sense that I think the person I'd like to meet the most is the villain and have a conversation and have a day out with the
Damayanti, you are
villain.
absolutely fascinated by the villain.
I mean, see, the other people I could get to meet really, but the villain, I mean, how many people could say that they could go and, meet a serial killer at certain risks to my well-being, of course. But it would be fascinating. If I was ever given a chance to do one of those jail interviews, where you could go to
Yeah.
to the prison and you speak to the criminals and say, why did you do it? What did you do? I would definitely. I mean, I would volunteer for such a job. That's
The Silence
like
of the
my
Lambs
in my
immediately comes
writing
to my,
DNA.
yeah. The Silence of the Lambs
Yeah,
immediately comes to my mind. It must be a very dreadful job.
absolutely.
Yeah. But that's humanity, right? You can't have the very good unless you also have what you call the very bad. So it's your standard of judgment, right? So we do have certain things. Yeah, of course, certain things we can be clear, or at least in my judgment, let's say any kind of pedophilia for me is like a no-no. But suppose a woman was being abused and she ended up killing her abuser. where does morality stand there? So it's not always very clear. And in such situations, I would really want to talk to the criminal. I mean, why not? Understand their point of view as well. Not
Yeah.
support it, but figure out why.
So true. So, so Abhishek, do you have you were asking something, I guess. Did I interrupt you?
Actually, yeah, no, actually, somebody in the chat suggested Shobita Dhulipalia as for the
Tara.
role of Tara. Not bad.
Yes, I'm glad when readers begin to picture the characters and form pictures in their heads, that means the author is more or less doing their job. So that's a good thing.
And
Thank
you know
you.
what? Even people who must have not known Bombay that much, or people who must have not visited Bombay, I think this book. I mean, of course, people who know Bombay and who've been a part of Bombay would definitely relate to everything and that's happening, because it talks about all those areas, it talks about all those names and places, and the background is made that way. But if for those who have not known Bombay, I think still this is not that difficult, because there is some glimpse, or there is some imagery that kind of forms when we're reading the book. And I think that is kind of a master stroke that from a writer, because that kind of establishes a connect with the reader. So yeah, I think that's really, really nice about the book.
Thank you for saying such kind words. You guys are amazing. Tomorrow morning I'll go back to my manuscript with renewed vigor, saying, Ekta, like my last book. I should be able to finish this one.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we're so looking forward to your next one too, so that we can just kind of invite you again and talk to you more about it. But
Thank you so much.
just to add to it, Damyanti, would you also like to tell people, because there are a lot of people who are also writers in the fraternity, would you also like to tell them that what is your writing process like, or a typical writing routine like? I know this is a very cliche question, but all of us, people who are trying to write novels, who are trying to write something, we struggle with this. So if you can talk about that as well.
Well, if you're trying to be a writer and it hasn't been very long, like you can count it in weeks or months, my advice to you would be to stop immediately and do something more worthwhile with your time. So do not get sucked into this. And it's a trap, it's a trap, it's a trap. So, but if it's been like
I asked for
more than
your
a
routine.
Yeah, but it's my duty as a literary citizen to warn people of all all the perils that lie in front of them. Well, there is no routine as far as I know, in the sense that when I'm not drafting, there's no routine. When I'm drafting or editing, there's a severe amount of routine. So when I'm not drafting or not writing, then my brain goes on doing things in the background while I'm doing stuff like this, like talking to you guys, or doing whatever it is that I do in my regular life. But when I'm drafting, I kind of try to shut everything down. So I will not. I literally stop talking to my own mother, and she talks to my husband to get updates, health updates and life updates and things like that. And that's it. Like, my husband delivers meals and things like that. I'm extremely fortunate that he really understands. So I get the kind of treatment that I think male authors used to get in previous centuries, but my husband is like very understanding and he does that for me. So I don't do anything else. I probably go to the gym or swim, or if I really am stuck with something, I'll try and cook, but not because I want to feed myself or someone else. It's just because I want to process something. And I would try and write the draft as fast as possible. So I will try and write it in a month. So I'll try and write like 90,000, 100,000 words in a month. Before that, I
Wow.
will do, before that, I will do like 1 to 3 months of prep, is what I call it, like where I would be sitting there and thinking about the characters. I would be answering, interviewing the characters. I would be figuring out their motivations. Because for me, a plot stems from characters. So I will pick up the character and I will go deep and deeper and deeper and deeper. So by the time I am ready to write the novel, I almost know the character as well as I know my mom. So I study the character very, very hard. And then in a month, I would write a draft. And so sometimes I'm not really sleeping, not eating, not doing anything. I try to remain more in the other world than this one, because what happens is there's an organic wholeness to the story, which is very hard to
Yeah.
get, especially if you're writing very complex narratives where you have various points of view. If you are in that world, then it's much easier because everything is there. Like it's like binge watching Netflix, right? So you think that you can only watch a 3 hour movie or whatever it is, but then you start binging, you realize that you can watch something for 18, 20 hours. And that
Yeah.
kind of gives you a different experience than watching one episode per week. So I'm not a one episode per week writer. When I'm writing, I just binge write everything. And then I die. Like literally, I cannot get up from bed for 3 days and I have burnout and, then I'm binge watching on Netflix and etc. But yeah, that's my process. It's not very helpful because I think the the key to the writing life is figuring out what process works for you as a person. And there are as many different kinds of processes as there are writers, because no two processes are same, because no two writers are the same. Yeah.
Wow. That is
That's the
so true.
disappointing answer.
No, but that is so true. And for all those people who just heard the first part of her answer, wherein she was discouraging you to be a writer, you got to read, the books coming out, definitely worth it. So you have to, just don't not listen, Damyanti, on that part of the advice. But yeah,
Well,
this is so fascinating, to actually, I mean, because you kind of also crash so many myths that people have, how they romanticize about an author writing. So living
everybody
that part
enjoys
of it.
it. It's like they're farting but black butterflies all the time, but it's really not like that. No.
So
Truth
fabulous,
bombs, truth
fabulous.
bombs.
Also, Damayanti,
Yeah.
since we have kind of spoken about the book, anything that you would want to tell our readers, or all the readers across the world, how important reading is, or anything that you would want to send out as a message to all of them, please, off to you.
Well, reading is something that has been my recourse ever since I was a child. I think I was reading before I could read, because I think before I could actually read the letters, but my parents would read to me and I could tell you the entire story. Like they would read an Amar Chitra Katha and I could read from the beginning to the end. That was their party trick. So I was 2 years or 3 years old and I will, stutter and stammer through the entire story. So I was reading before I could actually read the words, make out the words or write the words. And it's kind of, a book is a friend that's not going to leave you. I have sat on death vigils with a book. I have gone and, when I was very ill, I had books. When I had huge breakups, and, when you listen to these Arijit songs nowadays, but, in earlier times, I had books, you know. So books will be there with you, and there's no other experience that compares, because I think everything else, like you're watching a movie, yes, you're consuming a story, but you're not participating in it. But when you're reading, you actually go inside a different world and you create that world for yourself. And probably that's the reason why you hate it when there's a movie adaptation, because you're like, that's not the guy I
Yeah.
imagined. That's not how he
Yeah.
speaks. So the reading is, I think, as much an act of imagination, and for me, I think a more important act of imagination than even writing, because writing comes from a place of from compulsion, you can't help it. So you write because that's a creative expression, and it's in certain ways it can be very selfish. But
Yeah.
reading is an act of empathy, and which is a very different thing. So if you want your kids to be better humans, and if you want to experience worlds other than your own, then reading really is the gateway drug. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you. What a wonderful, wonderful thing to say.
Mhm.
And we've moved on to the last segment of this talk today, and we want to do a small rapid fire with you.
The
This
scary
is
part.
not going
Okay,
to be a
okay.
tough one because we would be doing it only on books and not like other stuff.
Anything
So,
else?
so yeah. So to begin with, Damayanti, just wanted to ask you, what are you reading currently?
I just finished this book. Again, I don't have it, but this book that you all must read, it's by Yi-Yun Lee. It's called The Book of the Goose, and it's a fantastic book about friendship, about writing, about imagination. For those of you all who, I don't know why, but want to be writers, uh, you know, that book talks about the writing life as well. So it's an amazing, amazing book. And to consider that, Yi Yun Lee came to English quite late in her life, to be able to write like that with that much of felicity and depth, it's absolutely staggering. Yeah, I'm in awe.
And the second question is, who are your favorite authors and who are your favorite authors from this particular genre? Because we have that question from the audience as well.
Oh my God, this is like dushmani,
Yes.
dushmani. But it's like, in this, I'm more of a reading. I'm not very faithful. I'm very prostitutely in my reading. So the guy I'm reading or the girl I'm reading right now is like there's no better, This one is very good, very good, very good. And then tomorrow I'll say that one's very good, very good. But I think anybody who wants to read and has loves fiction, and it will sound, I think, very cliche, but I think Shakespeare is where I think you should attack. Probably, if you don't want to read in the original, read the paraphrase versions, read the abridged versions, and make your way back to the originals. Because I think when I read Shakespeare for the first time, I understood nothing, literally, because I was a 14-year-old in some Dust Bowl town in India where, we only had like secondhand books and no libraries, right? And there was no television. And, but Shakespeare opens up your imagination like nothing else. And the breadth of what he writes and the depth, you have an Othello and you have a Midsummer Night's Dream. And in between the two, you have the universe. So really, I mean, if you're starting on the reading life, if you're not reading Shakespeare, then I would like to say, why don't you give it a try? Yeah.
Your favorite book slash books.
There's so many. I think some of the best books I read were again back to my teenage when I read a lot of Chekhov. So I think I ate up my dad's Chekhov collection. I began with all his short stories and went on to his novels. And what that guy can do in a page or a paragraph is amazing, especially when I go back to, his stories now. It's completely it again, it's like, I'm talking like one of those Indian Idol judges, mind blowing, but literally it does, that is what a mind blowing thing looks like, not these, Besura things that they show on Indian Idol. But some of the Russian masters, really, some of the Indian masters. I mean, I'm a Bengali, so I taught myself how to write. I can't write very well, but I can read Bengali now, thanks to me, because my parents were like, you should be reading only English, you should be dreaming in English, you should be doing everything in English. We are a colonized nation, we have to accept that. And to try to decolonize my mind and take pride in what we have. If I read Sharat Chandra or Bankim Chandra or Rabindranath, we have so much. We have so much. Yeah. And
Wonderful.
I think, and in India, I think there's this trend that, you're reading, nobody wants to read an Indian author. And, I'm not saying read me or read my generation. Just read the people who are dead, right? Read all the dead Indian authors. Could you just go and do that? Yeah, do that.
Wonderful.
And there is so much. So amazing literature, in India by the Indian authors. And thank you for putting that across. And the last question in the rapid fire is, if you could suggest, or recommend or bloat the TBR of people by 5 novels that we should be
Oh
reading.
my God. Well, in crime, well, crime, I would definitely say Ivy Pokoda's book, These Women, and I can't remember the next one, that the one she has now. I can't remember the title. That's
You
very
could
good as well.
recommend this as well.
Oh, you guys are doing a fantastic job of it. To me, I think even if people don't read my books, my publisher's going to hate me for this. They organize this. But for me, I think it's very important that people read what they love, what they're drawn to. It's rubbish to say, read this, whatever, whatever. Like, don't read Shakespeare if Shakespeare doesn't appeal to you. You want to read Milton Boone? Go do that, because that's where you start. That's okay. I mean, you will, if you are meant to, you will read, go to different levels of reading. It's fine. There's no point in being snobbish. I was a snob, take it from me. So, I would, for crime, I would again say Robert Galbraith, which is J.K. Rowling, writing as Robert Galbraith, very decent books. I would say, if you like old-fashioned thrillers, I would say Lisa Gardner, who writes these very FBI. So I'm just saying the crime ones. If we talk about literary, then I would say Anne Enright, The Gathering. I would say Donna Tartt's Goldfinch, I think, which is quite amazing. It's huge. I would say, I've forgotten who the author is. Maybe one of you can remind me. Uh, the Shipping News
No.
by look up the author. That book blew my mind. It was hard work. It was very, very difficult. I would say read Saramago, read Ohan Pamuk, and I
Oh,
would
wow.
say read
Oh my
all
God.
the
Oh
dead
my God.
Indian authors. Start with, everybody. Read
Everybody.
Mahashita Devi, read Premchand, go and read Perumal Murugan,
Yes,
for God's sake. Go and read
yes,
him. Go
yes.
read Gachar Gochar. Go read Vivek Shanbhag. Go read some of these people is what I would say. And the reason I say this like a school ma'am is because I'm a teacher as well, right? And so whenever I teach people, they're like, no. So I'm like, go read this. So yeah, apologies for the tone. That's the school marm.
Amazing. So
Wonderful,
I'm
amazing.
sure our TBRs have bloated, and as always, and and thank you so much. Okay, so we will try to put that list together. A lot of people saying, can you please put that list together?
We'll
Okay,
do that.
we'll try doing that. And maybe our next post. But thank you so much, Damyanti. Thank you for being with us. And thank you. A big shout out to Jeko Publishing House, because they have been incredibly nice, and been, doing all of this. So thank you so much. And we had such a great talk with you. And I'm sure, all the people who you have discouraged not to write are going to get onto their desks and start writing right now.
Right
So
now.
Well, they can't blame me, right? I'm free of blame. Don't say I didn't warn you. And thank you so much, you guys. Thank you really, and thank
Thank
you
you
to
so
everybody who
much.
attended and everybody who listened and asked questions, and all of you. You guys are doing such a wonderful job. I mean, your platform's wonderful, I think, because the more we get into reading, I think the more we can cure what ails India. And I think it's very clear that a lot ails
Absolutely.
India at the moment. So you guys are doing a fantastic job. So kudos to you guys. Do a bit of this. So
Thank you so
excellent.
much.
Thank you guys. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
Amazing,
much.
Damyanti.
much.
It was
Thank you so much.
a
It
Thank
was
pleasure
you.
such
talking
a
to you. Thank
pleasure
you.
talking to you,
Same,
and we're looking
same.
forward to
Likewise.
your next book. And in the meanwhile,
Yes.
guys, you gotta read this one.
Yay!
Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, I'll pick up both. There you go. So this
Oh,
is the
yeah.
All
first, this
right.
is the second.
Lovely.
Thank
Take
you.
care,
Thank
you
you so
guys.
much.
Thank
Have
you.
a
Thank
great
you.
night, great evening, guys.
Bye.
Thank you so
Thank
much. And
you.
those who are going to
Thank
join
you.
us later and watch this video, we are going to upload this on YouTube as well. So go ahead and enjoy it if you have not missed this out now. So thank you so much, and thank you
Bye.
everyone for joining us. Bye bye.
Bye.